Good evening and welcome to Stoppage Time Penalty Show with the host, Tobrise, the best grassroots centre-back in the country, 100%. So again, thank you everyone for tuning in. We've got Owen at the top. Thank you for coming on from Herne Bay Vets. We have Jose, a professional footballer. We have Barry, who just found out who Roberto Carlos was.
I know who Roberto Carlos is. Don't even start.
And a special guest on the panel is Abby. Abby, thank you for coming on. Could you kind of tell the people out there exactly what you do?
Of course, thank you for having me. I don't. Do you know what? I should probably have a title for myself, but I don't. I just do a little bit here, there, and everywhere in terms of women's football. So, predominantly, I write for Football in Berkshire, and I'm their women's football correspondent. So I cover the entire pyramid of women's football from Tier 1, so Reading women, all the way down to the county leagues at Tier 7, which is where I pretend I can play. But I'm a terrible footballer, really. I'm much better talking and writing about it than I am playing it. So, yeah, and then I do a couple of bits here and there elsewhere. I write for a couple of other publications. At Football in Berkshire, we also have a podcast. So we talk about the ins and outs of all of the counties' football each week. And then we do interviews as well occasionally. So recently I've spoken to the academy manager of Reading Women as well, Rob Gear. So, yeah, I do a little bit of chat here and there. Yeah, a little bit of everything in terms of women's football, really. To look at some international stuff as well. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades, master of none, I guess.
Don't do no way. I'm literally not. I'm literally not having that. I mean, again, we literally met at the Football Content Awards, and your podcast actually won like the best podcast for women's football.
Not women's football. No, we won the best non-league podcast.
Best non-league.
Yes. Thank you. It was a complete shock. We still don't quite believe it, actually, to be fair. It was a bit mental. We were there to enjoy ourselves, I'll be honest, and we somehow came home with an award. So yeah, no, really, really proud of it and everything. It's a bit crazy. Yeah, we still can't quite believe it now. So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, no, amazing. And yeah, you know, I was gonna just talking about how I felt off air, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like Abby's there. Gosh, like, should I just approach? And of course, you know, I had a kind of few bottles of beer, so I thought, you know, I'm just gonna go over and just say hi. And yeah, I was kind of
you're gassing me up too much here. I don't like it.
You know, like word of a lie, I was literally there with my brother, and like there was two people who I wanted to meet. It was Richard from the Bunch of Amateurs and you. I was like, okay, you know, I'm just gonna literally have the courage, you know, just to go up and just say hi. So yeah. Brilliant.
I appreciate it. That makes me feel like a bit strange. Like I'm not a celebrity at all or anything like that. Like I'm not famous at all. So yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thank you. It was so nice to meet you as well. It was cool.
Yeah, no problem. And Barry, how are you doing, sir?
I'm okay.
So what is going on with the Ultimate Football Network? Could you please tell the people out there?
We've expanded to Sports Media Network, so Abby, you'll be joining that hopefully at some point. We've got a Women's Football Network as well, Abby, so you could join that as well. Yeah, it's going well. We're doing bits and bobs. Owen, I haven't seen you much on there lately.
No. You're right, you haven't.
No. Thought that.
Nothing personal, Barry, just time.
Jose, I haven't seen you much on there either.
For me, it's the time difference now because it's 2 hours ahead in Finland. So obviously, when you guys do the chats, what is it, 9 to 10?
Oh, the Monday Night Mayhem. Yeah, that is. Yeah.
2 hours later, I'm already well asleep by then.
Okay, but yeah, it's going well. Tobrise, as you know, you know, I get lots of people staying on the show and, you know, coming on and joining in and all sorts of stuff.
Cool. And no, let me not banter. So Jose, so how is everything in Finland?
Oh, it's good. I'm enjoying the experience. 3 preseason fixtures in now. Should have been the 4th one today, but obviously got called off. So I've really enjoyed it. I can see that, you know, things are falling into place now as well. It's nice. I've really enjoyed it.
Love that. And Owen, Herne Bay, what is going on in your neck of the woods?
We played yesterday. We won 3-0. Played the team who are either bottom or second from bottom. Worst pitch we probably played on this season, right, Cowsfield. But yeah, still got a good win, 3-0. And then the next 2 weekends we've got our biggest rivals in the league. One of the teams who beat us earlier on in the season. We're playing them in the return leg on our pitch, which is a 4G. So you know what I feel about that, how I feel. And then yeah, we've got the other team who will give us a good game. We've got them away this coming Saturday. So yeah, next 2 weeks going to be really big for us because we're out of the big cups. Obviously, went out the London Cup, went out the Kent Cup. So it's the league and the league cups that we've got to defend because we're the holders of them.
Cool. Nice. And I played yesterday for about half an hour, came off injured, which is great. That was a friendly. So yeah, that was just a nightmare for me. But it is what it is. And then my Sunday team played, lost 4-1 against like a very good Clapham Rovers team. So I think that's me in a nutshell. I don't really want to talk about my kind of this season regarding playing for me because I've had it's been an up and down season. So hey. So there's no sympathy. No.
It needs to be
Abby,
smaller.
get a violin out from
It needs to be smaller.
Yes, get a violin. That's it. Yeah.
All tiny one on the shoulder.
Oh dear, gosh. So today we have Caroline McRoyall coming onto the show, former CEO at Surrey FA and former chair at Tooting and Mitcham. So she'll be coming on and talking about her journey into football, and we'll be kind of talking about the women's game quite a lot today. It's International Women's Day on the 8th of March, which is Tuesday. So again, we've got to celebrate what the women have actually done in sport. And I think it's really, really easy just to sweep a lot of things underneath the carpet, and we need more people of influence that can come out and literally speak. And again, Abby, thank you for coming on, and literally Caroline's going to be on to again educate everyone about what kind of goes on behind the scenes. So yeah, I'm really, really, really excited about that.
Very pressure, educate everyone.
Yes. And then at 9 o'clock, we have the Masters segment, which is the vet segment. And we'll go through Division 1 and the Division 2 results. And then at 9:30, it's the end of the show. So hey. Oh, is that you, Barry? Oh.
Special guest.
He's just come to say good night, haven't he?
Special guest.
Good night.
Yeah. Say bye-bye. Say no night.
And do you know who Roberto Carlos is?
Yes, of course. Right. So we have to tell the others what this is about, so they understand. So there's a group, I don't know, it's either WhatsApp or Telegram, and Tobrise shared a clip of Roberto Carlos has recently turned out for a Sunday League team in the UK. I personally thought and made the mistake that it was really well publicised and most people knew about it. To be fair to Barry, he didn't know about it. And showed this clip, and I commented saying, "Oh, great, what was the score?" Yeah, maybe some other comment, and Barry went, "Who is this guy?" And what did you write? He went, "Remember, I'm not in your world." And so I was like, "What? You're not in football? You don't
not invented football, I meant. That's what I meant.
Roberto Carlos is." And this is
Abby, did you know about this, Abby?
Yes, I did. So, well, because so it was an eBay thing, wasn't it? They ran like a competition thing where you could like bid £5 for, because they did it for women's football as well, because Eni Aluko did it as well. She's
well, there you are. See, that's
yeah.
why she knows about it. See, yeah.
No, but I also know who Roberto Carlos is. I know what he
No. I know who he is. I didn't know.
But you just thought he was some old fat bloke, didn't you?
It was like what it was.
With R. Carlos on his back, yeah.
I couldn't see that. That's not. It wasn't exactly that clear. Come on, Owen.
I don't think he's changed that much, though, has he? I think he still looks fairly similar.
No, I mean, he's a midget. I think there's a few clips that have been that are literally doing at the rounds of Roberto Carlos actually just standing still for about a minute, like he didn't actually move.
He doesn't need to. He took a pen, didn't he?
Yeah,
He's Roberto Carlos. He doesn't need to.
That's what I'm saying. It's Roberto Carlos, man. That's just amazing. So yeah. But hey, Barry, we just messing about. You know how it is.
You wait. You wait.
Oh, dear, brilliant.
Right. Can I ask Abby a question? We've got time for questions?
Yeah, go on then. Yeah.
Okay, so women's football. Yeah, I was reading a while ago. Much earlier on in the 20th century, it became really quite big, didn't it? I'm pretty sure after the Second World War, women's football became really quite big, and then just vanished. Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially what happened is that women's football started around the same kind of time as men's football, the kind of men's football we know today, so like from the 1880s. And then what happened is we kind of came into the 20th century, and then obviously the war happened, and people still wanted to play football, but there wasn't men's teams around. And what ended up happening was like all the munitions factories essentially, on their lunch breaks, they'd be like, should we go for a kick around? So men's teams ended up becoming, because they'd all gone off to war as soldiers, men's teams were then replaced by women's teams, essentially. And it was huge in the 20s, for example. And a good team to look at for your kind of introduction into history of women's football is the Ditka ladies from Preston. They are kind of the big sort of pinnacle of women's football, like historical women's football, essentially. They were huge. And yeah, I think it's 1921, they played a game at Goodison Park, and they drew in a crowd of 53,000. So yeah, it was huge. It was massive. And they often played for charity, like charitable causes as well. So they play for children's homes and for hospitals as well. I've done a little bit of research into it myself, because as I said, I cover Berkshire football, so I looked predominantly at Berkshire teams and stuff like that. And there was a Reading ladies side around that time and in the 1920s and stuff. And yeah, but what happened is the 5th of December 1921, the FA decided that football was quite unsuitable for women, and they decided to ban women from playing on FA affiliated grounds. And that ban continued for 50 years, so until 1971. So yeah, this last year, they played the FA Cup final on the 5th of December 2021 as a mark of 50 years since the ban was lifted. But yeah, it did continue. The popularity of it continued sort of into the 30s and 40s. It tailed off a little bit, and then there was hundreds and hundreds of women's football teams, and then it got to around sort of the 50s, and there was only sort of 20 odd teams playing, and it petered out. But then actually, interestingly enough, when England won the World Cup in 1966, it actually saw a resurgence in people being interested. So it wasn't just men who became interested in playing football, also women. So then more teams began to play. And then, yeah, as I said, the ban on women playing on FA affiliated grounds was lifted in 1971. And so it sort of began to garner more and more interest. And then, yeah, we're where we are now with the WSL, the Championship, and all the other leagues below it, the National League and stuff like that, and participation increasing hugely. I mean, the stats old, so they need to do some new research, but there was statistics released in 2017, and that was 3.4 million women and girls playing, but it'll be probably twice that now, I imagine. They definitely need to do some new research on that, because there's been a real resurgence in the last few years. And so if you look at the WSL, which is the Premier League equivalent, that was only professionalized in 2018, which seems a bit mental, considering the kind of pathway that's been paved by women before that, and like significant figures. But yeah, that figure I imagine will probably be twice the number. So yeah, I reckon you're looking at sort of 5-6 million women and girls playing in England these days. So yeah.
Wow. Amazing bit of knowledge. And again, that's a great segue into our special guest, the main event, Caroline McRoyall. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Great stuff. Thank you so much for spending 45 minutes with us. And again, let's go straight into it. Could you just talk to us about your journey into football and also what you're doing now?
Yeah, sure. Firstly, just want to say massive well done to Abby with all those stats, those facts and figures you brought off. That was great to see all that information.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I first got involved in football after watching the 1990 World Cup. So I'm going to show my age a little bit here. I was on a holiday with a friend and we was watching the World Cup, and I took a bit of a shine to Gary Lineker and then started watching the England team. Obviously, they did reasonably well. I then became obviously a Tottenham fan, of course. And yeah, so after that holiday, we decided, right, we've got to go and play. We looked around for a local team, eventually found one. And started training. But it wasn't actually until I kind of started playing matches that I really got interested and got the bug for the game, really. And funny enough, my friend that was the one that was kind of pushing us to get involved, they dropped out. And then I just continued and just loved the sessions and wanted to do as much as possible. I wasn't exactly the best player. I was put on the left back because I think it was the only, even though I'm right-footed, I was the only spare player basically. And my husband, obviously it was my boyfriend at the time, used to say that I used to run around in rings to try and get the ball on my right foot rather than use my left. But now, funnily enough, I feel alien if I'm on the right side of the pitch. Not that I play that often anymore, but just loved the game and wanted to get more involved. So then I started volunteering in football, and that kind of took me on a journey to kind of think, well, could this potentially be a career? You know, could I work in football? And that's obviously, I went on to university, and it was around while I was at university, I did sports studies and social biology. And actually one of the books on our reading list was A League of Their Own, which is all about Dick Care ladies. And, that book was just amazing and loved that. And that's when I decided I wanted to work in football. And it was just at that time, there wasn't loads of jobs out there. So it was about continuing with the volunteering and doing as much as I could. And eventually I got a role with London FA as a football development officer, then moved to Surrey as the county development manager, and then progressed to be chief executive. And I was chief executive of Surrey FA for about 5 years, left there about 3 years ago now, and I've set up my own business as a sports consultant, working with sports clubs and organisations, really just to help them develop and grow, to give back some of that expertise that I've gained over the years, to help those clubs that are kind of voluntary run, that perhaps either don't have the time or the expertise to do, the great plans that they have. So that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Amazing. And you had time at Tooting Mitcham as well?
Yeah, so again, just after I left Surrey FA, and I was around the time of setting up my business, Steve Adkins got in touch. I've known Steve at Tooting Mitcham, who's the owner of the club, and was the chairman at the time quite for a long time, because obviously working at Surrey FA would help them with their facility development for their 3G pitch. And he got in touch and said, what are you going to do? And we sort of discussed it. And he said, well, actually, can you come and help us? So I actually started working with them on a consultancy basis to start off with, in terms of helping with funding. And then he pitched the idea of becoming the chairman or chairperson. And it was really so he could take a bit of a step back. So obviously he was still the main owner and director of the club. But I was looking after the sort of, I suppose, the fan engagement, the liaison between the supporters and the main club, and just trying to push the club forward in that direction. So, and that part of it was a voluntary role. So I was doing some work with them on a consultancy basis, but the chair position was voluntary. So I was there for about 2 years before I moved to Eastbourne. So unfortunately, I don't feel I can do the role justice from Eastbourne. So had to resign from that position.
Oh, wow. Amazing. And again, thank you again for coming on to the show. And again, anyone out there, if you've got any kind of questions, please put them in the chat, and anything that's relevant, I will literally pull it on screen. Abby, I would love to get your first question for Caroline.
Cool. Welcome, Caroline. It's really exciting to have you on. So, can we talk a little bit about your career more, right? Like your playing career, shall we say, rather than your whole football career? Yeah, I'm
not sure you can call it a career, but
no, I say that because so myself, I've always been kind of interested in football, but I didn't start playing myself until 3 years ago now. So it's like a fairly like new thing for me to actually be playing. Like I've had the interest of like watching and whatever like that, but I didn't actually start kicking a ball until I was older. And no disrespect, but you are obviously older than me, so I just would be interested in how you navigated your way into playing, because it sounds like you kind of came to football a little bit older as well. So yeah, I'm just interested to know that, because I feel like a lot of women don't like we're on a sort of knife edge at this point where actually opportunities for young girls are getting younger and younger and younger, and the chance to like actually play football. Like, so a lot of girls can now think, I'm gonna make a career of being a footballer, whereas I think certainly for my generation and probably a bit older, that wasn't really an option. Like girls playing football just wasn't really a thing. So I'd just be interested to know what you feel about that and your own personal experience of that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, when we were looking for clubs, obviously there wasn't loads around, and it was a case of, you know, where is the nearest club? And I think that initially we actually contacted, I think it was Crystal Palace, because that was the closest club. But when they found out we were like complete beginners, they were like, no, I think you should try someone else, because obviously they were slightly better at that time. And yeah, like there was no football in the school that I was at, and you know, but luckily, you know, they were okay with me sort of saying, well, can we do something? Can we get something together? So we actually set up a football team, which was quite nice. And yeah, it wasn't a great standard. It was sort of Southeast counties, which is sort of very relatively grassroots football. But there was that drive to grow football. So when I first started volunteering for the county FA, because I volunteered for my club first, and then I kind of got a position on the local league, because they were looking for county reps for the league to represent the clubs. And the FA had put in a role called the county coaching representative, and they had one for men and they had one for women, and I became the volunteer county coach representative. So this was before the days of football development officers. So they had these volunteer roles to try and increase, obviously, the communication across the game and try to, you know, get more people involved. So it was sort of around that time when, and sort of just, I'm just trying to think when it was. Just after that, sort of about 5 years after that, that's when they then started to bring in the football development officers on a full-time paid role to actually really start. And you saw the big growth in the game in terms of more people developing, and you know, and that was obviously across the men's and the women's side.
Okay, amazing. And Owen, would love to get your question.
Well, Caroline and I know each other very well. Hello, Caroline.
Hi, Owen.
But yeah, I don't think I've ever really had the chance to ask you stuff about your football career, which has always interested me. I was just wondering, one question: were you when you became the chief exec of Surrey FA? Were you the first female to have held that position?
I was the first female in Surrey, yeah, but there was one or two other CEOs nationally. So there's about 50 county FAs. Right. And I think there was probably about 5 or 6 at the time. So, but yeah, I was the first CEO for the female CEO for Surrey.
Yeah, fantastic. So yeah, real inspiration for lots of young females for sure, and well, females in general. Yeah, fantastic. I do have other questions, but we can move on, can't we?
Yeah, and
can I just ask something about that? Well, actually, it's not ask something, but just point something. I wonder what the balance of gender is now since you took over that position, and how many like there are across the counties as it is now. So as you said, I think you just said there was 3. So I wonder what number that is like now.
Yeah, I think it's definitely increasing. I you know, while I was CEO of Surrey, you could see more women getting involved in those particular roles. And I think the way the county FAs are structured is that it was very much a volunteer organisation again when they sort of first set up. And gradually they were sort of changing them from sort of a county secretary position into more of a CEO position. So the county FAs initially were just set up for the administration of the game, the discipline, the fines and the regulations. And it wasn't until the FA started investing in the football development that it grew, obviously, and almost doubled the number of staff that county FAs had. So that's when the chief executive positions officially came in. And it was around that sort of time, because the counties were changing from being administration / discipline based into more development side of the game as well. You started to see sort of the older cohort of people that had held those positions kind of gradually moving on, because things had changed and they were getting older as well. And then you were getting more diverse people coming through, not just females, but people of different ethnicities and varied backgrounds as well. So it just started to shake up the game. And I think football has got a bad rep, particularly at the top of the game, for its diversity and its inclusion, but it is changing. It's just a slow process, because you've got to have people move on to get new people in, type of thing. So
yeah, cool, fair enough. Jose, would love to get your question.
So for me, I want to ask about the popularity of the sport. So if I think about the USA, I personally think women's football is bigger than men's football, and the popularity is crazy. And what do you think that they've done there that could be done across not just the UK but in Europe to reach that level of popularity as well?
Well, I think, I've always been envious of America in terms of how big the women's game is. And I think it's simply because, the traditional game for men in America is American football, isn't it? You know what I mean? So that is seen as almost the male sport, whereas football is kind of a secondary. So the fact that the women's game has been so popular, it's kind of, I don't know, it's been more of a balance, I think. And it's just driven on and got more and more popular. And I think other countries are now catching up, which is good. And I think obviously you've got the college system in America. You've got the rule that, there has to be, and I forget the name of the rule, Abby will probably know it, but where you have to have, 50%, 50-50 investment in both male and female in terms of the college program. And I think that helps, because, we haven't got anything like that in this country. So, there's something that we can learn really from America and just push that forward.
It helps that they also won the World Cup.
Yeah, that does help.
Their men didn't. So
it's very
Do you think that the fact that obviously if they progress through youth as well, and they can eventually gain a scholarship in university, and that's also motivation given the tuition costs of the USA as well, do you reckon that's something that also helps the development of sports, given in women's football, given that they also get that academy system with universities as well, which is so well developed?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, that's something I know the FA were a little bit concerned about, because they were losing a lot of their best players and talent over to America. So it was like, actually we need to look at how we can retain them in this country and set up something that is similar or as good value to make sure that we retain the players in this country. And I think, that's kind of happening now, but there was obviously, they were worried about that at one point.
Yeah. Barry would love to get your question.
Hello, Caroline.
Hi, Barry.
Hello. I was just going to ask you, what's it like being a woman in a predominantly male-dominated sport?
It can be challenging sometimes. I kind of look at it as almost as a challenge, to try and progress. I think, most people are relatively genuine and they don't, you don't come across any barriers as such, but you always get those that kind of, whenever I used to introduce myself to people that didn't know me, sort of say, oh, I'm the CEO of Surrey FA. It was like, oh, what, women's football? It's like, no, for all football, because they just didn't really think about it. Yeah. But, most of the time, I think you just feel like you have to strive further and harder and prepare more, just to make sure that your stuff and you kind of stand out to other people. But most of the time, I tended to get a good reception. I have had some issues with sort of discrimination, sort of general sexism, banter that people like to call it, which isn't ideal. But I sort of made the conscious effort to actually sit down with that person and say to them, look, I don't like the way that you do this, and it makes me feel this way. And they were good enough to actually, I think they didn't realise what they were saying. Well, they obviously knew what they were saying, but they didn't realise the impact that it might have. They thought it was okay. And luckily from that, it kind of changed their behaviour. And I think that's kind of what we all need to really try and do, isn't it? It's about calling out those areas of sexism and discrimination and racism, and just make people aware of how that makes the other people feel.
Yeah. Did you have those challenges as a chair as well when you was at Tooting and Mitcham? Was it just as difficult when you were CEO?
No, actually, in fairness, as the chair of Tooting and Mitcham, I didn't. I think most people actually, the reception I had, and hopefully Steve won't mind me saying this, was that, I'm glad we've got someone involved that knows about football, because Steve isn't really a football person as such in terms of having that background, whereas they could see that I'd had that background, and I guess I had the respect from being the chief executive at Surrey FA, so they kind of thought I might know my stuff, which was good. So they were all very welcoming and friendly.
Abby, would love to get your next question.
So do you have whilst you were in that role of chief executive, is there anything that you were particularly proud of in terms of achievements that you completed whilst you were there? Yeah,
definitely. I think the time that I kind of took over, we were going through that transition of sort of modernising the organisation, and the biggest achievement was getting the county from the sort of office-based building that we had at Leatherhead over to Meadowbank Football Ground, which is a purpose-built sports facility with a 3G pitch, home to Dorking Wanderers. And it's just an amazing facility that, I think I always said that whenever anybody was going to start a county FA from scratch, the first thing they would think is, right, okay, where's the building, where's the pitch? And obviously, we were just in an office building with no facilities at all. So to actually transfer the organisation over to a purpose-built sports building that, every day as staff come to work, they can see those facilities and actually it be a reminder for them as to why they're doing what they do. It's just something that I'm really proud of that we managed to get done. And it wasn't without its challenges, because the building was delayed by about 2 years. And we had lots of issues throughout the process, but we got there in the end, which was the most important thing.
Yeah, amazing. Owen, back to you.
So you explained how you got into football, if I heard it right. 1990 World Cup obviously captured your imagination. Lineker doing his best, but then what interested me, you said, right, you came back, you and your friend, and you went, right, well, let's go and find a team to play for. Now that's a different step than just being like, well, let's support a team, which you would have thought most people, that would be more natural. So what I'm interested in, why actually go for playing? Was there somebody already in your family or somebody you looked up to who in your close circle who was already playing?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, my brother was playing football, but I never really showed an interest, to be honest, at that point. I think it was more my friend dragging me along, if that makes sense. So, she would like to stand out from the crowd, I guess, and be different. And when we were watching the games and stuff, she was like, I know what we're going to do. We're going to go and play football, and and that's. So she kind of dragged me along, and that's why it's kind of funny that she dropped out, whereas I continued. Yeah. So I always have to thank her for getting me involved, because I wasn't overly sporty really before I found football. I was just and it's just weird really how as soon as I say, even with the training, I wasn't overly engaged, but as soon as we started playing matches, it was like, wow, I love this game. I want to play it all the time.
Are you better than your brother?
No, my brother is one of those annoying people that's naturally gifted at any sport he turns his hands to.
Oh, I know how he feels.
Is really lazy. So he would have been a much better player, but never really continued. So there you go.
Jose, would love to get your question.
So from my understanding, you came back and you went to Crystal Palace first, and they recommended you find something different for beginners, right? Do you think that there is enough opportunity at grassroots level for just complete adult beginners? So someone that's, just like you, just found their passion for football and wants to get involved. Do you think they'd have an easy time?
I think it's a lot better now than obviously what it was when I joined. I mean, now you've got so many different options in terms of, there's the regular competitive football. You can go and play recreational football. You've got walk-in football. So there are a lot more options. And I think that's good because, I mean, I've kind of got to the stage where I dropped out just after I had my second son and work was really busy and I didn't have the time. Whereas if there was something that was a little bit more recreational based and less competitive, I may have continued for a little bit longer. And I have gone back and played the odd game of walking football and sort of five-a-side, but nothing on a regular basis. But I think now there can certainly be more opportunities, but I think there is definitely a lot more options than there were previously. And I think, the whole growth of, that recreational game and getting people back into the sport at an older age is just growing all the time. There's such a huge demand for it.
Can I just jump in here? Sorry.
Because I saw you start. I saw you shake your head. So I'd love to get your opinion.
I think this is like a big area that is kind of missed slightly in women's football because, like I was saying before, I didn't join a team until like 3 years ago, and I'm in my 20s. So I think there's a lot of Actually, I'm going to reference somebody I know. So there's a woman called Carol Bates. So she runs Crawley Old Girls. She started in a similar way to you, where she kind of did a bit of a journey really. So her dad was a football manager, and he brought her and her sister up, and so she used to follow him everywhere wherever he went, and he played and he managed, and she'd follow. And then when she got a bit older, then she'd do like the half-time teas and stuff like that, and full-time teas, and then she got married and had kids, and both her boys became interested in football. So then she became a football mum, and she coached them a little bit. And then they kind of became disinterested as they got a bit older. And then she got to the point where she was like, well, I've done everything except play, but actually that sounds like quite a good idea. So she talks about this idea of being a missed generation because she's kind of a 70s kid. And I think it even applies kind of 70s to maybe even up to 90s. There's this big kind of missed generation of women who don't necessarily want to go into competitive football, but there's not really the opportunity there to necessarily go and play. I think it's definitely, as you say, growing, it's getting better, but I think that is a big thing that should be a focus for the FA is recreational football for women, because I think there's a lot of women who would be interested in playing, but the idea of committing to like training and then turning up on a Sunday every week and potentially getting thrashed when you've only just started playing for the first time is quite a daunting kind of endeavour to really. So I think it will change actually with the Euros coming this summer. And I think lots of places will realise that recreational football is a way to get women interested in football. But yeah, I think it definitely is a slightly neglected side, at least where I'm maybe it's the area that I live in and maybe there's not the right opportunities, but I guess you might see it better in bigger cities and whatever like that. I'm a little country village girl, so maybe that's why.
There definitely is a lot of sort of recreational football out there, and now they're sort of almost bringing in recreational leagues, which means that those that want to sort of enjoy the recreational side and want to have a little bit of competition without it being overly competitive can get together, which is really good. And as you say, Carol Bates has done wonders down at Crawley. I think they've got about 5 or 6 teams now, haven't they? Which is amazing.
Yeah, so she started off she dragged her 10 mates along, and now they have over 250 participants every week. So they've got like walking football, then they've got like a beginner's level, and then it goes all the way up to, so they're six, I think. No, there'll be 7 this year. And so they've got people who started at year 1, and then now they've made their way up through the kind of being a beginner all the way, and now they play in the advanced kind of setup and then the advanced league there. So yeah, life goals.
Maybe that's someone you need to interview, Tobrise.
Yeah, 100%. Barry, I would love to get your question.
You guys might not know, but Eastbourne's got 3 football clubs. And I was just wondering if Caroline's wandered into any one of those 3 yet.
I have actually. I've been invited several times through Eastbourne Borough Football Club, actually. And then they actually invited me before I even got to Eastbourne, which was really nice when I announced I was leaving Tooting. And they are a really good club, actually. I've been down there a couple of times. They seem to be doing great things. The chairman is, he's done wonders with the club in terms of turning it around and turning the finances from a deficit into a break-even straight positive. And they are doing a lot of stuff. So they've got, walking football, they've got recreational women's football, they've got a new ladies team that have literally just won the league in their first season. They've got a 3G pitch, so they can have lots of activities down there as well. And they've just set up a business networking club, which is really good.
Brilliant.
Okay. Actually, I've actually got a question. Again, to Caroline and also to Abby as well. How did you guys feel when Phil Neville took the England women's job?
This is where you insert that I prefer not to speak Jose Mourinho.
No, because like how I see it, anyways. Yes, Phil Neville had a career, but like to me, it's kind of almost like a kick in the teeth. It's like, okay, he's gone straight into management, which is fine, but he's gone straight into an England job. And literally, I thought there were better candidates out there. But again, I don't want to say, I would again love to get your opinion.
You're just saying what we're all thinking, aren't you? Really? I mean, yeah, I think I think to most people it was a shock. It's like, well, what is his management credentials? Do you know what I mean? Has he even shown any interest in the women's game up until now? Is it just a publicity stunt? And I kind of think that's where it seemed to go. And I don't know whether it was because nobody else was interested in the role, which I find hard to believe, to be honest. I know there's lots of coaches out there that have done amazing things in the women's game, internationally as well. And were kind of overlooked for the role. So it just seemed like somebody had this idea that let's bring in a high-profile ex-player to showcase the women's game, which kind of worked for about 2 matches. And then performance went downhill, and probably enough said. Abby, what do you think?
Abby would
I'll keep it PC, I promise. No, it was strange to me because. So it obviously came about where Mark Sampson was sacked, and then he, as far as I understand, he didn't apply for the job. So, like, Mo Marley had been in charge, and I think they should have given her the tenure because she had been in the role. But yeah, as far as I understand it, he didn't apply for the job. So that just is baffling to me anyway. He didn't have any experience as a manager either, did he? He'd been an assistant manager and had a bit of a rubbish period at Valencia, I think, wasn't it? So, it just seemed a little bit insulting that he'd ended up in the role. I think
I can see how you
listen, I'm trying to get into the industry here. I can't burn business before I'm even in it.
Let's move on. You know what? Let's move on. Your next question to Caroline, Abby.
You throw me here. I've forgotten what I was going to ask now because we haven't got onto this topic. I'll just say Serena Wiegman is absolutely smashing it right now as the England manager. They've just won the Arnold Clark Cup. So, new pastures are working well. And also big up to Bev Priestman, who was his assistant manager, and they won the Olympics last season. So there we go. No, I genuinely have forgotten my question now. You might have to come back to me.
Okay, that's I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Owen, I would love to get your final question.
Right, my final question. When you started out, Caroline, playing, was it women only or was it mixed? Did you play any mixed football at all? Or just
No, it was just a women's team. I probably didn't play mixed football until it was a work-based tournament, I think, where they had because obviously mixed football wasn't allowed, or not even in youth football, whereas now you can play mixed football all the way up to under 18. So the only mixed football I kind of played was either sort of work-based stuff, or sort of later on, sort of, the last probably 5 years was sort of some walking football and stuff like that, where I sort of played as part of a county FA team or a Surrey team. So county FA sounds like I was representing the county. I wasn't. We were just playing in a charity event. So it was just girls.
What do you think about? Sorry, I mean, this was all one question to Reece. I haven't just nabbed to. But what do you think about the whole mixing of the ability to mix it up until 18? Do you think that's a good thing? Not necessarily.
I think it is a good thing. I think there'll always be girls that won't want to play in boys football, or should I say, or in mixed teams, and will want to have their own sessions, which is fine. But there are those girls that will want to play more and play in the sort of the more competitive leagues, and perhaps there isn't that opportunity because there isn't so many girls in the area that want to play football, and they should still be able to get their opportunity to play. And I think it's now getting to the point where it's not sort of, I suppose, seen as unusual, if that makes sense. If there's a mixed team playing in a youth league, and you've actually got some all girls teams playing in what would be traditionally boys teams now, which is good. And actually they're fresh in some of the boys teams, which is nice to see. So I think it's fine up to under 18. I think it's fine in adult football in terms of a recreational level, or maybe even the slightly less competitive leagues, it should be looked at as well. But I mean, obviously, when you get to the professional levels, it's something slightly different, and I don't think it'll ever come in at that level. But yeah.
Okay, cool. And Jose, your final question.
What do you think can be done now to increase attendances, popularity, just to raise the passion around it, around women's football? What do you think are the next steps, in your opinion?
I think we just need to win the European Championships in the summer, and then it'll be fine. I think, it's definitely growing. We're seeing more of an interest. I think COVID came along just at the wrong time, unfortunately, because the women's game was really catapulting forward. And you were seeing a lot of, interest and sponsorship. And, I think it's slowly starting to get back to what we would say normal before. I mean, obviously, only yesterday we had the Women's League Cup that was sold out at FC Wimbledon. Perhaps they should have picked a bigger stadium. I don't know, but at least it sold out, which is really good. And it'll be interesting to see, obviously, the types of crowds that we'll get over the summer. And I'm hoping that if England's women's team can put in a really good performance, then we'll just see the game move on another level.
And Barry?
Caroline, will we see you back in the chair at any time?
What, in Tooting and Mitcham, or just any chair?
Any particular club?
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, in fairness, every time I go to Eastbourne Borough, the chair there says that he wants me on the board, which is a nice compliment. But obviously, I have to be very careful about how many roles I volunteer, because I love football so much. I'd end up volunteering and spending all my time volunteering and not actually getting any paid work. So I have to make sure I'm careful of what I do. And at the moment, I'm volunteering for Fair Game as their strategy director.
Yeah.
And we're really busy at the moment organising a conference for International Women's Day on Tuesday. So hopefully that will go really well. And so when when I'm doing less volunteering elsewhere, then I may go back to be a chair of a football club.
Okay,
that'd be good.
Watch your space. Abby, have you got your question?
Yes, I have
Cool.
remembered. I just wanted to sort of touch on the consulting, because obviously that's your most sort of recent and newest role. So what made you pick that avenue of football, essentially?
Yeah, mainly because I've always wanted to run my own business and sort of be a consultant. And it's kind of like when I left Surrey FA, it was kind of that time where I thought, well, if I don't do it now, I'm probably not going to do it. Otherwise, I'll just end up in another sort of career, working for somebody else, I thought, actually, well, here's the time. Little did I know that COVID was around the corner. So it has been a little bit of a challenge, but I'm really enjoying it as well. I like the flexibility of it. I like, it's good being able to work from home now and again. It's nice to be able to pick and choose who you work with to some extent, and the bits of work that you're passionate about. And even in some respects, the plus side of COVID is that people are more happy connecting digitally and actually working online. So the fact that I have moved all the way down to Eastbourne doesn't stop me from working with my clubs in Surrey and London and Kent. Obviously we do a fair amount online. I still go up there and travel now and again, but it just sort of breaks down those barriers, in terms of the geography, say that word. So I'm enjoying it, and it's nice to work. I guess as a CEO, I was kind of detached from actually the game a little bit, in terms of not seeing what was happening on the ground. So actually working with clubs directly is nice to see how you're making an impact and actually understanding how they're working as well.
Do you also think that where we've had the pandemic, that how do you think we've had to adapt to sort of digitalizing football? I know that sounds really weird, but obviously we've had to find new ways to remain in communication, even at a team level, and just all the way up to you in consultancy. Yeah,
I think it's been a challenge for some clubs. I mean, obviously I was at Tooting at the time, and they didn't have any online ticketing system. They had their academy program that they had to do a lot of online classrooms and stuff, and that was kind of all new to them because they weren't the most technically advanced club, and that, so we brought in some of those systems, and as you say, during that time communication was key. And I think it's, some clubs I think do it really well. I think those clubs that are kind of younger in their setup are very good when it comes to social media marketing and comms. I think some of the other, the older clubs have sort of traditionally just relied on, we'll send an email out or a newsletter and that's it. And, everybody will get that information, and, not everybody reads it, unfortunately. So I think clubs need to embrace it. They need to understand that it's here to stay and that it's what people want. And they need to get on board, really. Otherwise they will find, they'll get dwindling fans and, less players, people, they'll become irrelevant. So it's something that everybody needs to push forward on.
Yeah. And Caroline, you briefly touched upon International Women's Day on the 8th of March. Could you elaborate and literally tell everyone out there exactly what is International Women's Day?
Yeah, sure. So obviously International Women's Day is a day really to celebrate women's achievements. And for me, I think it's an opportunity to highlight, the role models that are out there in football in specifically, and also to raise awareness that actually discrimination and inequalities do still exist, and we need to sort of call it out. And one of the actual tagline for this year is break the bias, and you have to go like this. So can everybody go like this? Come on, Abby.
Sorry.
Which basically means, we're calling it out, and if we see any discrimination and bias, we will call it out. And yeah, as I sort of touched on earlier, Fair Game is organising a conference for International Women's Day. It's all day, it's virtual, so you can join from the comfort of your home. There are still tickets available. And you just need to go to our website, www.fairgameuk.org/IWD. We have some great speakers. We've got Anne-Marie Batson is our host for the conference, Jackie Oatley. We've got Kelly Lindsay, the former USA captain, talking, and Farkunda Mahutta, who was the captain of the Afghanistan national team and basically helped the Afghanistan women's team get out of Afghanistan when the rebels hit. So, there's lots going on. We've also got the Surrey FA and the London FA talking about increasing participation in football for women and girls. So, it's not just a conference for women, it's a conference for men and men's clubs to see how they can attract more women into the game as well. So, if anybody's interested, you're more than welcome. Just buy a ticket.
That is absolutely amazing. And again, will you give everyone the website one more time?
I can do. So it's www.fairgameuk.org/ IWD.
Okay. Honestly,
That was seamless. Well done.
Seamless. Yeah, my job is done. Caroline, thank you so much for coming on, and again, educating me about the game, and long may it continue. Of course, we want the game to grow out. I've got two young girls, and I just want them to be happy in whatever sport, whatever discipline that they want to do. So
but hopefully they choose football, yeah.
Hopefully they don't follow into dad's footsteps, because hopefully they don't have my genes, because honestly I'm absolutely shocking. So but yeah.
But what do you do? What do you do when you have two sons who don't even like football? And that's the house I live in. I've just gone wrong somewhere. I don't know what I've done wrong. My husband doesn't even like football. It's just me.
Wow.
I relate to that. Not my husband, but I have a dad and a brother, and they're not remotely interested in football either. Yeah. So
it's funny, isn't it?
It's crazy. But no, honestly, Caroline, thank you so much for coming on. Actually, where can people find you if they want to know more?
If you just type my name into Google, I will pop up, and you can find. I use my name in my business, so it's Caroline McRoyall Consulting. So I'm very easy to find, and I'm on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming on, and again, thank you for spending 45 minutes with us. Honestly, much appreciated.
Thank you for having me.
Nice one, Caroline.
Cheers.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Caroline.
Nice to see you, Caroline.
Bye. That is amazing. Again, just so much knowledge. And again, it's I know that the feel that Neville, kind of probably hit a few nerves, but hey, I mean, apart from that, it was again, I'm kind of here to learn as well. So I was an avid listener. So
you only threw that in, Tobrise, because you're a Liverpool fan.
No. Listen,
yes, you did. Come on.
You know what I mean? How I saw it, it was just it didn't make sense to me. I was like,
it didn't make sense to me either.
It just didn't make sense to me. But again, I thought he was. It just didn't make sense to me. So
no, that's the same.
That's all I can say. And I know Abby is tight-lipped, so I don't want to get in trouble. But again, Abby, thank you so much for coming on as well.
No, thank you for having me. It's been really good. It was really for me as well. It was really interesting listening to Caroline, because she is obviously talking about consulting, stuff like that. And I think sometimes when people talk about women in football, they just talk about people who play in a professional game. They forget that there's so many other avenues of work, roles that you could work in as well. So I think they forget that there's a business side to football as well sometimes that women need to be involved in as well. So that was really interesting for me.
Oh, thank you so much.
Actually, that reminds me of something. I can't believe I missed this before, but the Her Game 2 movement. What are your thoughts on it? And
when I said about that Jose Mourinho, should we insert that one here as well?
Okay.
I just would like tangibles. Let's talk about tangibles. It's the initiative is absolutely correct. Yeah, absolutely. I'm behind it, but yeah. Tangibility. That's all I'm thinking.
No, fair enough. Abby, thank you so much for coming on.
No, not at all. It's been a pleasure.
And I'm going to be inviting you back on 100%. So again, stay by your phone. Stay by your phone.
I'll always reply to you, Tobrise. I'll always reply.
Thank you. And Jose as well. Thank you so much. I know that you are 2 hours ahead, and I'm sure that you got training tomorrow. So again, thank you for coming onto the show as well. So
thank you for having me.
There's going to be a quick commercial break, and then we'll be back with the vet segment. But again, Abby and Jose, thank you so much for coming on. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
All right. See ya.
You know what? I'm not going to be honest with you guys anymore. Anymore.
You know what, Barry? You
No,
know what?
no.
What? I love your honesty. You know, honestly, like because a lot of people would have just said, would have probably put up a thumbs up emoji or said, "Oh, great."
Yeah.
At least you was honest to say, "I don't know." It's absolutely fine. Honestly, like it is what it is. Honestly, Owen, that's bang out of order. Bang out of order, Owen.
Sorry.
Bang out of order.
Sorry.
You know, revenge, Owen. It's best served cold, Owen. Cold.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
It's coming.
So, before we go into the vet segment, Barry, do you want to quickly talk about the Ultimate Football Network and what it does?
The Ultimate Football Network is for anyone involved in football who wants to join at any level. So if you're an amateur, you can join the Amateur Football Network. If you are pro, you can join the Pro Players Network or the Managers and Coaches Network. If you're a referee, you can join the Referees Network. If you're an agent or a scout, you can join that. So if whatever department of football you're in, there's a network for you within it.
And what happens every Monday?
Every Monday we have a show. It's recorded from 9 till 10, and then after that it's a free chat. It's called Monday Night Mayhem. Please feel free to join. It's advertised across Twitter and on the Telegram group. So, and obviously on LinkedIn. I think it's on the Facebook groups, on Instagram as well. So you just join through that.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing, honestly. And regarding like the group, I've literally found so many people on the Ultimate Football Network. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. Again, yes, scouts, agents, referees, what do you call it now? Sports media,
players,
just players.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So, anyone that's kind of looking to get into football, anyone that needs any advice, like anything, please go and join the Ultimate Football Network. And again, you can see Barry's handle at the bottom of his video. So yeah, honestly, please go and join. So let's go straight into the vet segment. And again, I'll be just talking about Division 1, Division 2. So yeah, let's kind of start with Division 1 of the Southern County Kent League. Kent League. Apologies. So in Division 1, Glebe 4, Johnson and Phillips 1, LSU and Stansfield. It was abandoned. I literally heard that the referee was having a stinker, and both teams politely asked the referee to go home.
Wow.
Yeah. And when I say politely, they actually said, there's no point you being here. Like we can actually do this ourselves. So literally, they literally had I'd say a exhibition game between themselves because it was that bad. That's what So read into that what you will.
Wow.
New Park free, charcoal free.
Oh.
So
Is that game going to be replayed then, Tobrise?
I believe so. I don't know. I mean, again, I don't know exactly the ins and outs, but I spoke to one of the players, and it was what I heard. In the first 50 minutes, a few people were being sin binned for just absolutely ridiculous. It was just stupidness, absolute stupidness. And both teams were like, look, you know what? Let's just have a friendly referee just go home, which is unheard of, actually. To be honest, I don't think I've heard of that. Wait, is what it is. So as the table looks at this present moment, Charcoal first, still unbeaten, with LSU A second, Stansfield third, Glebe fourth, New Park fifth, Johnston and Phillips sixth, Metrogas seventh, and Defiance eighth. And the fixtures coming up on the 12th of March: Glebe versus Charcoal, Metrogas versus Defiance, and Stansfield versus Johnson and Phillips. So let's go to Division 2. Division 2 results. Bow Street 3, Norwood Lakers 6, Catford 0, Cray Wanderers 1, and Sporting Santos 1, London South B 1. So this is a very, very interesting table as it stands. So Independent are first, Sporting second, Cray Wanderers third, Catford fourth, LSUB fifth, Wallenham sixth, Seagas seventh, Bow Street eighth, Norwood Lakers ninth, and Leone Stars 10th. But if you actually look at the top three, they're all identical.
Yeah. Wow.
So, it's a very competitive league. And regarding the games for next week, Bow Street versus Wallenham, Independent versus LSUB, Leone Stars versus Seagas. Yeah, and Sporting Santos versus Catford. So again, I've kind of said it before that Division 2 is really, really competitive. It's about 3 or 4 teams that are, that literally turn out about 15, 16 players every single week. And you can see how close that division is. And the kind of bottom fixture, Santos versus Catford. I mean, that's going to be a humdinger, absolute humdinger. In terms of Independent, we had a friendly yesterday against an open edge team, but again, we lost. But again, it's kind of good to kind of play younger teams, so then at least we can kind of have a chance to run around. Morale in the camp is good, and again, I think everyone's just focused on kind of getting the result on Saturday. LSUB drew with Sporting, so they're going to be full of confidence. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting game. Owen, what is going on at Herne Bay? Who will them? I think you mentioned who you've got next week. You've got your old rivals, right?
A team called Minster. Yep. So yeah, got them next weekend. We played this weekend, just gone, team called Westgate. Lovely bunch of guys, really nice bunch of guys actually, but not so good as a team. But yeah, Minster next week, who when I first started playing in this league, they had won it, I think, for 4 years on the bounce before we turned up. So straight away we were the big rivals. Their coach is actually a guy I went to college with, and so I've known him a long, long time. And we used to have an awesome team at college when we were boys. But that's nice. That's nice that we still stayed in touch, and we kick the shit out of each other when we play. And then we both get injured and complain about our knees.
Crazy. Actually, Owen, have you found this season pretty long?
Pretty long. Maybe not long, intense, but that's down to us. We entered another cup. We entered the London Cup. And I know yesterday I was just talking to a couple of other players about it, and said, I just flippantly went, we're going to enter again next year. And then one of them went, I'm not too sure if the managers want to do it because we've had a number of injuries. We haven't had any strikers for pretty much all the season. So I don't know. I mean, I want to enter it next year. And also, it didn't necessarily make sense to me because we lost these strikers early on before we even got into playing it. So that wasn't necessarily a factor. But yeah, not necessarily long, intense though. There's been a lot of games for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And like when you break it down, this is the first time because the last 2 seasons, the seasons have been null and void. So this is the first season where we've actually played the whole season. So it's like, wow, okay, so this is actually how a season actually feels like. So yeah, it's just felt a little bit intense. And of course, like you have your ups and downs. I of course, I kind of want to end the season with a trophy or a promotion. That's what everyone wants. And again, I want everyone to be happy and healthy, which is the most important thing. Nick has come in with a question. Nick, what's happened with the Beckenham Cup? So our game against Charcoal has been rescheduled for the 19th of March. So yeah, that's all I know. Again, it's going to be a really, really good game. Charcoal, who are unbeaten in the league, flying high in Division 1, against the kind of two-time holders, Independent, who are like not gonna let go of this cup, lightly. So it's going to be a very intense game, Owen. It's going to be a very intense game. It's going to be a very.
You said 19th, yeah, 19th of March.
Yeah,
19th of March.
19th of March.
What time's that?
It's going to be. I think it's 2:00. To be absolutely honest with you, I don't even know where it's going to be held. To be honest, I just know it's going to be on the 19th of March. So,
do you think because of all the stuff that happened last time, do you think that the leagues or the cup administrators are going to keep it quiet about where it's going to be hosted until the last minute? So they avoid punching.
That's a good point. I mean, I think if they wanted it to be quiet, they wouldn't have publicized exactly when the game was going to be. That's how I see it. And someone just said, "Is it going to be at a neutral ground?" I probably. You can't stop people coming in. Personally, I don't think the league are going to commission bodyguards or security. It's not going to be that type of game. Yes, a lot of things have been said. You can't walk away from that. Two really good teams that literally want to win and literally want to compete as well, and literally that's literally what you want in like Vets football. Do I think it's gonna be blood and thunder? I think in some parts, yes. But again, you can also see some really, really good football as well. And I do believe whoever wins that game will go on to actually win the cup. That's how I believe. And and of course, the winner, I know and believe will be Independent.
Nice. Yeah.
So yeah, cool. All right. Thank you guys for watching. Owen, thank you again for coming on. Next week. Okay, so yes, I got my dates wrong. I got my dates absolutely wrong next week. For this week. So next week, 100%, it is Connor Washington. Connor Washington is coming on next week, the 13th of the 13th of March. So Connor's going to be on to actually talk about his journey into football, international football. So again, please come in and tune in and literally kind of get your questions. I'm just trying to look at the questions. What about Cray? What about Cray? I think I've mentioned Cray. Cray in the league? Yeah, Cray are doing okay.
Yeah, I think he asked earlier. Catford versus Cray, I think.
Catford versus Cray.
Yesterday, wasn't it?
Catford versus, yeah. I mean, Catford. So Cray beat them 1-0 because Nana's not here. I don't know exactly how the game went. But again, Cray are a good team. Again, a dark horse that no one really thought that would actually be around. So
there's a post down there for you, Owen.
Well, it's almost for me. This says Gwaine. I don't know who Gwaine is. But yeah. I'd accept the banter if you spelt my name properly. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean. I don't know who this.
It's true though. It's true. Yeah.
Actually, you know what I mean. What did you think about?
I'll be a proper fan. Come on.
Oh, he's hiding it early.
Oh my gosh.
I'm not shy. Even when we
You were shy. You did that all you did it for the whole programme.
I forgot it. I didn't even realise. It's cold. It's cold about it. Yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
So what did you think about the performance today?
Not surprised. Yeah, I was very surprised that we got to 2-1 and looked kind of in it at that point. But then, end of the result. I mean, they have been for at least 2 years, and that's probably being generous. But they're so far ahead of us. You know, their football is just on an absolutely different level to ours. I think I've said it before, but I understand what it must have been like to be a Liverpool supporter in the 90s and the noughties.
Yeah.
You know, coming out after your massive period of dominance to then nothing, and this is where United are now. You know, we've had our big period, and we're just nowhere near it. You know. So not really surprised. Not really surprised at that result at all.
And Barry, AFC Wimbledon, how did they get on yesterday?
Lost 1-0 away to Wigan. I wasn't surprised at that result either, but Wigan are a top 2 team. We lost to Rotherham as well, 1-0 at home. So not too bad, losing 1-0. We're not the greatest team in the world in the league. We're 20th, so we're fighting relegation. So it's if we can beat Plymouth next game. That's one of our games we've got to do. We've got to beat Plymouth.
And touch wood, it doesn't happen. But if AFC Wimbledon get relegated, what would that mean for the club, the stadium? What's the kind of
Well, it's not going to be great, is it? Because you're not going to get the amount of fans through the door, are you? That's the problem. So it's going to impact us financially. Hopefully, it won't impact us on the pitch in terms of players, but you're bound to lose players, aren't you? Some of your best players. It's going to happen, isn't it? If you go down, some of them are going to go. Unfortunately, even if we stayed up, some of them are going to go. So, let alone if we get relegated. It's a tricky one. We're in a bit of a rut at the minute.
Well, that's football, isn't it?
We haven't won in 16, Tobrise.
Not won in 16.
Wow.
So feel my pain.
Wow. Yeah.
Okay. So is the manager under pressure? Well, yeah.
He's been there. He's been there a long time. And so he's not under as much pressure as you would necessarily be if he hadn't been there a long time. Put it that way. So I think the next couple of games is going to be crucial for him, not just for us, because we've only got 11 games left. So it's a bit difficult for the club, isn't it? You know, when do you sack him? When do you get rid? What's the point of getting rid of a manager with 9 games to go if there's not much to win anyway? Not much. You know, you haven't got the personnel on the pitch to do it. What's going to change?
Okay. Well, fair enough.
I think you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, really. To be honest, even if we change the manager, I can't really see, unless we get any personnel in, which you can't really do now. What's going to change, really?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess so. Wow. It's
hard.
That is difficult. That's difficult. But hey, again, Barry and Owen, thank you for kind of coming on. Owen, I've actually heard that Cafu's been auctioned.
Cafu?
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Is he yet?
Yeah. Barry, do you know who Cafu is? Yeah. Thank you guys for watching.
He's a Brazilian player. I know who he is.
Thank you guys for watching. We will
just like Owen
next week. Have a beautiful weekend. Whatever you're doing, stay safe.
Cheeky.